Hey everyone, it's Bebster01 back with another Honkai Star Rail video. Today, we're going to be diving into the top 5 best 4-star characters in the game. Before we jump in, I want to make it very clear that this list is based on how these characters perform in the current meta. We're not focusing on their lore, character designs, or anything like that, just how well they do in battle. Remember, almost every character in the game has their own strengths and niches, so if your favorite didn't make the list, it doesn't mean they're not any good. We're just talking about who objectively stands out right now. Alright, let's get right into it. Starting us off at number 5 is Herta. She's a 4-star ice element character who follows the path of erudition. Now, Herta might not be the first character that comes to mind when you think about top tier units, but she's really carved out a niche for herself as an AoE specialist, especially as the game has introduced more fights with multiple enemies. So, what makes Herta worthy of a spot on this list? First off, she's fantastic in situations where you're up against waves of enemies. Her ability to deal consistent damage to multiple targets at once makes her super useful in these scenarios. Herta's low-cost ultimate and her talent follow-up attacks means she can keep the damage flowing without burning through resources too quickly. Her skill is pretty straightforward. It hits all enemies on the field for up to 100% of her attack with a 20% increased damage boost against enemies with 50% or higher HP. This extra damage is key because it helps lower enemies' HP to the point where her talent kicks in, and when that happens, Herta really starts to shine. Her talent triggers a follow-up spin attack whenever an ally reduces an enemy's HP to 50% or below. This spin deals up to 40% of her attack to all enemies, and if multiple enemies hit that 50% HP threshold at the same time, she can spin multiple times, dealing massive damage across the battlefield. Her ultimate is where Herta really shows off her AoE power. It deals 200% of her attack to all enemies for only 110 energy, and the more enemies she takes out, the more energy she gets back thanks to her talent. This keeps her ultimate ready to go again soon, allowing her to stay in the fight and keep hammering away at the enemy's toughness. One of Herta's biggest flexes is her absolute dominance in pure fiction. In this mode, she is easily one of, if not the strongest DPS characters in the entire game, outperforming even top-tier meta limited 5-star characters like Acheron and Firefly. She even surpasses limited 5-star erudition characters like Argenti and Jingran, making her a true force to be reckoned with when it comes to AoE damage. Now, Herta isn't perfect. She struggles in single-target fights where there aren't enough enemies for her talent to trigger often. In these situations, her damage output really falls off, and she can feel like a bit of a drag if she's the only damage dealer in your team. But if you're up against multiple waves of enemies, or enemies that can summon reinforcements, Herta can step up her game and contribute some solid damage. Herta's value is pretty situational. In fights where she can maximize her AoE potential, she's an absolute game changer. But in single target scenarios, she can be a bit underwhelming. Still, if you're looking for a character who can tear through waves of enemies, Herta is definitely worth considering. Next up at number 4 is Pela, another ice element character who follows the path of nihility. Pela is an incredibly versatile debuffer who can fit into pretty much any team. She might not be the flashiest character, but what she does really well. Pela's biggest strength is her ultimate, which hits all enemies for up to 100% of her attack and has a 100% base chance to inflict the exposed debuff. This debuff reduces enemy defense by up to 40% for 2 turns, which is a huge deal because lowering the enemy's defense means your whole team hits harder. Pela's ultimate can be a game changer, especially when paired with other characters or relics that focus on defense reduction or defense ignore. Her skill is another important part of her kit. It deals up to 210% of her attack to a single enemy and removes one of their buffs. This is super useful against enemies that like to stack buffs like the Mara-struck soldiers or Sanctus Medicus shapeshifters. Just keep in mind that it won't work on buffs that are marked as unremovable. There's a little bit of a misconception about Pela that you can build her as a DPS character because her skill has a high damage multiplier. But that's not really the best use for her. Pela is, and always will be, a support character. Her damage isn't the main reason why you want her on your team. It's her ability to debuff the enemy and make your other characters stronger. Her Eidolons can make it tempting to go down the DPS route, but don't fall into that trap. For example, her talent restores up to 10 energy if the enemy is debuffed after her attack, which really helps her keep her ultimate ready to go. Combined with her low ultimate cost, Pela can keep those debuffs rolling, making your team much more effective. Pela's bonus traces and Eidolons are nice extras that add a little bit more to her support role. Her A2 trace gives her a 20% damage boost against debuffed enemies, and her A6 increases the damage of her next attack by 20% after she removes a buff. These might seem like they're pushing her towards a DPS role, but really, they just make her better at supporting your team by weakening the enemy. Pela's ability to stay SP positive is another big plus. She doesn't need to use her skill all the time, which means she can save skill points for when you really need to use them, like removing a key enemy buff or getting a little extra energy for her ultimate. With the right setup, Pela can keep her ultimate going every couple of turns, which is huge for keeping those defense reductions up. However, it's worth noting that there are more specialized limited 5-star Nihility characters compared to Pela. For example, Silverwolf excels in single target debuffing and fits perfectly into the Mono Quantum team. Jiaqiu is great for Acheron and Ult Burst teams, while Black Swan shines in Dot teams. While Pela is incredibly versatile, these 5-star characters offer more specialized roles in certain team compositions. In short, Pela is a fantastic support character who can debuff the enemy and make your team hit a lot harder. She might not put out a ton of damage herself, but the way she boosts your team's overall damage makes her one of the best 4-stars in the game. At number 3, we've got Gallagher, a 4-star fire element character who follows the path of abundance. Gallagher is a really cool mix of healer and damage dealer, which makes him super unique and valuable on any break team. Gallagher's ultimate is his big selling point. It inflicts the Besottled state on all enemies, which lets your allies heal by attacking those debuffed enemies. On top of that, Besottled increases the break damage enemies take by up to 12%, so it's not just about healing. It's also about setting up your team to deal more damage. Gallagher's kit is all about that dual functionality, keeping your team healthy while also making enemies easier to take down. One of the most interesting things about Gallagher is how his healing works. Unlike most healers who need to stack stats to heal more, Gallagher's healing is flat, meaning the numbers you see in his abilities are what you get no matter what. This might seem like a drawback at first, but it actually gives you a lot more freedom on how you build him. Since his healing doesn't depend on his stats, you can focus on other things like break effect or speed, which helps him fill out his role as both a healer and a damage dealer. Gallagher's skill is pretty straightforward. It heals a single ally for up to 1,600 HP. There's no fancy cleanse or healing over time here, but the flat healing amount is strong, especially when you boost it with outgoing healing bonuses. This keeps Gallagher focused on his job as a healer without getting bogged down in complicated mechanics. But his ultimate is where Gallagher really stands out. Besides inflicting the Besottled debuff, it also deals up to 150% of his attack to all enemies and boosts his next basic attack to Nectar Blitz. Nectar Blitz deals up to 250% of his attack to a single enemy and reduces their attack by up to 15% for 2 turns. This attack is guaranteed to land and doesn't rely on effect hit rate, so it's super reliable in combat. Gallagher's bonus traces make him even better at doing his job. His A2 trace boosts his outgoing healing by up to 75% based on his break effect, which kind of reintroduces some scaling into his healing. This makes him a competitive healer, especially when you add in bonuses like an outgoing healing boost chess piece. His A4 trace gives him a 100% action advance after using his ultimate, so he can act more often and keep that Besottled debuff rolling. Gallagher's ability to deal big toughness damage is another reason why he's so valuable. Nectar Blitz alone does 90 toughness damage, which is on par with most single target ultimates. When you add in the 60 toughness damage from his ultimate, Gallagher can break any enemy's toughness bar faster than most sustain units. Gallagher's Eidolons are nice to haves, but not essential. E1 gives him a 20% energy boost at the start of combat and boosts his effect res by 50%. E2 adds a cleansing effect to his skill, which makes him much more versatile, while E4 extends the duration of his Besottled debuff by 1 turn. E6 is particularly useful as it boosts Gallagher's break effect and break efficiency by 20%, which really amps up his offensive utility. But Gallagher isn't without his challenges. Timing is everything with his ultimate. If you break an enemy with it too soon, the Besottled debuff might wear off before your team can really take advantage of it. To get the most out of Gallagher, you've got to time his ultimate just right, ideally after an enemy's turn has started, to keep the debuff active for as long as possible. As strong as Gallagher is, he unfortunately can't be ranked any higher due to Lingsha being released in the next patch. Lingsha is a limited 5-star character and also a fire abundance sustainer specializing in break teams, directly power creeping Gallagher. That said, Gallagher will still remain an incredibly capable sustainer, especially with his more accessible Eidolons as a 4-star, making him a solid pick for players who aren't pulling for Lingsha. Overall, Gallagher is an awesome healer who brings something different to the table with his ability to heal and deal damage at the same time. His ability to apply debuffs, enhance break damage, and provide solid healing with flexible build options makes him a fantastic addition to any team. While you need to be mindful of when to use his abilities, Gallagher's unique kit allows him to excel in a variety of combat situations, making him one of the strongest 4-stars in the game. Taking the number 2 spot is the newly released Hunt March 7th, a 4-star imaginary element character who follows the path of the hunt. March 7th is one of the most versatile and powerful characters in Honkai Star Rail, offering high single target damage, critical hit potential, and exceptional flexibility in both damage dealing and breaking toughness. At the heart of March 7th's power lies in her enhanced basic attack, which is central to her damage output. This attack starts with 3 hits, each dealing up to 80% of her attack to a single enemy. But here's where it gets interesting. There's a 60% fixed chance to add up to 3 more hits after the initial strike, leading to some pretty crazy damage potential. While this enhanced basic attack doesn't restore skill points or give extra energy with more hits, it does recover about 30 energy, making her super efficient and powerful in a fight. Her skill is another big part of her kit. When she designates an ally as her Shifu, it increases that ally's speed by up to 10%. But that's not all. The Shifu designation is key because March 7th's enhanced basic attack benefits from the path of the designated Shifu. If the Shifu follows the path of erudition, destruction, or the hunt, March 7th's basic and enhanced basic attack will deal an additional 20% attack as damage. On the flip side, if the Shifu follows the path of abundance, nility, harmony, or preservation, her basic and enhanced basic attack will deal an additional 100% toughness damage. This dual functionality lets March 7th flex between being a crit carry or a super breaker, depending on your team's needs. Her ultimate is another powerhouse move. It hits a single enemy for up to 240% of her attack and cranks up her enhanced basic attack by dealing the base hits from 3 to 5 and raising the fixed chance of extra hits from 60% to 80%. With a relatively low energy cost of 110, this ultimate can supercharge her enhanced basic attack, allowing it to dish out up to 800% of her attack in a single turn. Even if she doesn't get the additional hits, the enhanced basic attack after using her ultimate still packs a punch with a solid 500% attack, making it one of the strongest attacks that doesn't require skill points. March 7th's talent is what allows her to keep dishing out these enhanced basics. After her Shifu uses an attack or an ultimate, she gains 1 point of charge. When she hits 7 points, she instantly action advances by 100% and gets up to an 80% damage boost for that turn. This charge system lets March 7th consistently access her enhanced basic attack without needing extra resources, making her skill point positive, an incredibly rare trait for a damage dealer. Now, let's talk about her bonus ability traces and eidolons, which takes her abilities to the next level. Her A2 trace gives her a 25% action advance at the start of combat, letting her set up a Shifu right away. Her A6 trace is also super valuable, giving the Shifu a 60% crit damage and 36% break effect boost for 2 turns after she uses her enhanced basic attack, which significantly amps up the Shifu's impact in battle. One of the coolest things about March 7th's kit is her A4 bonus trace, which allows her to reduce the toughness of enemies whose weakness type matches the Shifu's combat type. This means March 7th can effectively deal toughness damage to enemies even if they don't have an imaginary weakness, making her super versatile in different fights. The benefits of March 7th's eidolons are pretty awesome too. E1 boosts her speed by 10% when the Shifu is on the field, making her already fast playstyle even quicker. E2 lets her perform a follow-up attack equal to 60% attack after the Shifu uses a basic attack or skill, further solidifying her role as a versatile and powerful unit. E4 speeds up her ultimate availability by giving her 5 energy at the start of each turn, while E6 increases the crit damage of her next enhanced basic attack by 50%, making her an even more formidable damage dealer. And here's the best part. You don't even have to spend a single Stellar Jade to get all of her eidolons. Just by playing the game, you'll get all 6 of March 7th's eidolons for free, which is a huge win and lets her reach her maximum potential without costing you anything. March 7th's kit lets her fit into a wide range of different team comps, making her one of the most flexible characters out there. Whether you're looking to build her as a crit carry or a super breaker, she's got the tools to excel in both roles. In summary, March 7th is an amazing character who brings a lot of versatility and power to the table. Her enhanced basic attack, combined with her ability to adapt to different combat roles, makes her a must-have unit. Plus, the fact that you can get all her eidolons for free just by playing the game makes her even more valuable. Whether you're going for a crit-focused build, or need someone to break toughness, March 7th is a character that you can always count on. Before we reveal the top spot, I have to give out a special shout out to Asta, a 4-star fire element character who follows the path of harmony. Asta has steadily risen in recognition within the Honkai Star Rail community, particularly for her unparalleled versatility and utility as a support character. Despite being a free character, Asta's kit offers a combination of team-wide attack and speed boosts, making her an indispensable asset in a variety of different team compositions. The core of Asta's effectiveness is in her talent, which allows her to gain up to 5 stacks of charging. Each stack is earned when she hits different enemies, with 2 stacks awarded if an enemy is weak to fire. These charging stacks are critical as they increase the entire team's attack by up to 14% per stack, resulting in a maximum potential boost of 70%. This powerful team-wide buff is relatively easy to maintain, especially when facing against multiple enemies. Even in single-target scenarios, Asta can sustain a minimum of 14% attack boost through her basic attacks or skill usage, which can double if the enemy is fire weak. This attack boost makes Asta an invaluable support character, enhancing the damage output of the entire team. Asta's skill, a bounce attack, further complements her talent by allowing her to hit multiple enemies and quickly stack charging. This attack bounces between targets, dealing up to 50% attack with each hit and delivering a total of 90 toughness damage across its 5 hits. The skill is particularly effective when facing multiple enemies, as it can efficiently build charging stacks while dealing substantial toughness damage, which is rare for a support character. Additionally, the skill's total damage multiplier of 250% attack makes it potent even against a single enemy, highlighting Asta's potential to contribute offensively despite her primary role as a support. One of Asta's most extraordinary abilities is her ultimate, which increases the speed of all allies by a flat 50 for 2 turns. In turn-based games, speed is a critical stat that determines the frequency of a character's actions, and a boost of 50 speed is transformative. It allows characters to perform more actions in less cycles, significantly improving the team's overall efficiency and damage output. This boost is especially beneficial for characters who rely on high speed to optimize their rotations and gameplay. Even for characters who already meet their speed thresholds, Asta's ultimate enhances their performance, enabling them to outpace enemies and maintain an advantage in battle. For characters with already high speed values, this boost can push them into double and even triple turn territory. However, Asta does have some drawbacks. Charging stacks can be difficult to obtain due to the randomness of her skill's bounce, and they can also be hard to maintain because they do require skill points. Her damage buffs and dual DPS support capabilities have also become power-crept with the release of newer limited 5-star Harmony characters like Ron May, Robin, and Sparkle. Despite these issues, Asta remains one of the best supports in the game, but she just barely misses out on the top 5 due to these limitations and the sheer strength of the other characters on this list. In conclusion, Asta sets the gold standard for support characters. Her ability to provide significant attack and speed boosts to the entire team, combined with her versatility and ease of use, makes her an indispensable asset in almost any team comp. While she doesn't quite make the top 5, she's definitely worthy of an honorable mention for her outstanding support capabilities. Finally, taking the number 1 spot as the best 4-star character in Honkai Star Rail is Tingyun, a lightning element character who follows the path of harmony. Tingyun has been a standout since the game launched, and even with new characters coming out, she's still one of the best Harmony characters around. Tingyun's skill, Benediction, is one of the reasons why she is so powerful as a support. It lets her pick an ally and boost their attack by up to 50%. The catch is that the boost is capped at 25% of Tingyun's own attack, so it's worth stacking as much attack on her as possible to get the most out of it. On top of that, Benediction also lets the buffed ally deal extra lightning damage equal to 40% of their attack, and this lasts for 3 turns. This extra lightning damage acts as a raw damage multiplier, which is one of the rarest and strongest types of buff in the game. It stacks with other buffs and really amps up your team's overall damage output. Her ultimate is another reason why Tingyun is such a top tier support. It gives 50 energy to a target ally and increases their damage by up to 50% for 2 turns, even though the ultimate costs a bit more energy than usual. The ability to grant 50 energy to an ally is a game changer. For characters who rely on their ultimates to deal big damage, Tingyun's ultimate helps keep those ultimates coming, ensuring that your team can consistently output massive damage. Tingyun's talent is another sweet bonus. When she uses her basic attack, Tingyun triggers an extra instance of damage equal to 60% of the buffed ally's attack if they're under the effect of Benediction. It's not going to win any awards for being the most powerful attack, but it's a nice extra bit of damage, especially when you're trying to finish off low health enemies. Ting Yun's bonus ability traces are all about maximizing her support potential. Her A2 trace increases her speed by 20% for one turn after using her skill, letting her take more turns and keep her buffs rolling. The A4 trace boosts her basic attack damage by 40%, which isn't game-changing but adds an extra little punch. The A6 trace regenerates 5 energy at the start of each of her turns, which helps her keep those buffs going and supports her role as an energy generator for the whole team. To get the most out of Ting Yun, you'll want to focus on building her speed. The faster she acts, the more energy she can generate and pass along to her allies, making her crucial for teams that need to maximize ultimate uptime. Ting Yun already has a naturally high base speed of 112, and when you add her A2 trace, she becomes one of the quickest characters in the game, keeping that energy flowing and those buffs active. Ting Yun's Eidolons aren't necessary for her to shine, but they definitely make her even better. Her E2 gives an extra speed boost to the ally with Benediction after using her ultimate. Her E2 and E4 improve her energy replenishment and damage boosting abilities. E6 increases the energy restored by her ultimate from 50 to 60, which might not sound like a lot, but it can make a huge difference in tight situations where every bit of energy counts. In the end, Ting Yun is a hands down the best 4-star support character in Honkai Star Rail. She's got everything you want in a support: attack buffs, damage buffs, and even the highly unique and sought after energy restoration. Her ability to elevate performance of hyper carries while staying SP positive makes her a must-have for any team. Even with all the new Harmony characters being introduced, Ting Yun's unique ability to restore energy ensures she'll stay at the top for a very long time. If you're looking to maximize your team's potential, you'll definitely want to get and invest in Ting Yun because she can make a huge difference in any lineup. And that wraps up my ranking for the top 5 best 4-star characters in Honkai Star Rail. Remember, these rankings are based on how they perform in the current meta, so while these characters are some of the best right now, it's always good to think about how they fit into your specific team. Let me know in the comments if you agree with this list or if you think someone else should have made it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss any of my future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and keep spreading positivity.